Hi, I'm Sam Constantine, and this is Crash Course Pastiche, and today we're going to be talking about Pericles. Pericles was a politician in ancient Greece who was responsible for many building projects like the Acropolis, although he did pay for them with other people's money. He may also have convinced the Athenians to fight in the Second Peloponnesian War, which was kinda like the World War I of Greek wars, and Athens lost. Still, Pericles was consistently popular and influential. He was in politics during a time of what some historians call the Golden Age of Athens, or the Age of Pericles. Mr. Constantine, why are we still talking about the Greeks? There's tons of videos on the Greeks. Why don't we talk about something awesome? Why don't we talk about the Spartans? To understand why Pericles was popular, first we have to understand where he was popular. Pericles was born in 495 BCE in the land around Athens, 4 years after the beginning of the Greco-Persian War. His father was a politician and his mother was a wealthy noble. At this time, Athens was a democracy. Wait, it's time for the open letter? Already? An open letter to democracy. But first, let's see what's in the secret podium. Aw yeah, hot sauce. Dear democracy, much like the word awesome or certain brands of hot sauce, we like to put you on everything. Maybe we like to put you on too many things. You give a zesty kick to our republics, and you can cover the taste of almost any communist dictatorship. But maybe we're just trying to oversimplify complex political problems and trying to replace them with a more manageable ideal. But is ignorance truly bliss? You might make things easier to swallow, but you're also hard to stomach. Best wishes, Sam Constantine. The word democracy comes from the Greek word demos, or citizen soldiers, and kratia, or rule. So democracy means ruled by the citizen soldiers. And they only comprise about 10 to 20% of the population. Now, Athenian democracy is complex. Everything's complex. So we're only going to explain how they approved proposals. Let's go to the thought Devon. The two branches of government which could propose laws were the Council of 500 and the Assembly of the Demos. The Council of 500 was a group of landowning males chosen by lot and scrutinized by the previous council, and they performed the daily activities of the Athenian government, like keeping track of finances and examining public officials. The assembly was composed of any citizen soldiers who showed up at one of the 40 meetings held each year near Athens. At these meetings of the council and the assembly, a herald selected those who would speak. Anyone could propose anything they wanted. These proposals were formally prepared by the Council of 500, and the assembly voted on them with a show of hands or by ballot when the proposals were serious enough to require the presence of at least 6,000 members. Thanks, Thought Riley. Here's what Pericles did. In 462 BCE, Pericles was a member of the political group led by Ephialtes, a populist politician whose reforms included reducing the power of the Areopagus, a council of elders which had possibly been able to veto the decisions of the assembly. Ephialtes achieved this without opposition because Pericles had successfully ostracized Cimon, Ephialtes' most powerful opponent, because Cimon had supported Sparta. Pericles also proposed allowing the poor to watch plays for free, lowering the property requirements of archonship, and granting large salaries to citizen jurors. When Ephialtes was assassinated, we don't know exactly why, Pericles became the leader of his followers. Pericles also financed building projects. These included temples and the Athenian Acropolis, a fortress which still contains the Propylaea, the Erechtheum, and the Parthenon. However, other politicians criticized Pericles for taking funds from the treasury of the Delian League, which he moved to Athens from its original location on the island of Delos in 454 BCE. Because if there's one thing Athenians love, it's dead presidents. Thucydides, the new leader of Cimon's followers, convinced the assembly that Pericles took too much money. When he heard this from the assembly, Pericles told them that he would pay for the monuments himself, and he would write his name on the buildings that his money had bought. The assembly told him to keep using the money from the Delian League. Pericles then ostracized Thucydides. The historian who wrote about this suggests that the Athenians allowed this because they admired his magnanimity or vied with his ambition to get the glory of his works. They didn't want some guy's name on their stuff. The Athenians declared war on Sparta in 431 BCE. Pericles said, "It must be thoroughly understood that war is a necessity, but that the more readily we accept it, the less will be the ardor of our opponents, and that out of the greatest dangers, communities and individuals acquire the greatest glory." Unfortunately, Pericles died in a plague 2 years later. We can look at Pericles' speeches to see why he would have gained so much authority. Greece was an oral culture with loquacious mythic heroes like Odysseus, but until the 5th century, the Greeks had no science of communications, which we now call rhetoric. At that time, during Pericles' life, teachers called sophists traveled throughout Greece, giving instructions in math and art, but especially rhetoric. Pericles' abilities as an orator could be influenced by his contact with the sophists and or his mastery of a discipline whose practitioners were only beginning to formalize it. Speaking of formal, why has no one mentioned to me that my collar's been half-popped the entire time? We're going to focus on two things: how he built an audience and how he got that audience to support him. He unified the Athenians by giving them a common enemy, the Spartans. This is an example of how he contrasted the Spartans and Athenians. It may be noticed that the Lacedaemonians do not invade our country alone, but bring with them their confederates, while we Athenians advance unsupported into the territory of a neighbor, and fighting upon a foreign soil, usually vanquish with ease men who are defending their homes. Pericles also associated himself with the group that he encouraged to be united against the Spartans. In his funeral oration, he praised the Athenian government. But don't think he was solely responsible for all of his activities. He was born into a relatively wealthy, noble family, and his achievements have to be considered knowing that the means were readily available to him. He also took tons of money from the public treasury. But in terms of artistic patronage, I think we can all go big man history on this one, which is something we rarely get to do here, unless we're talking about, wait for it, the Mongols. As we study figures like Pericles, we can think about our own leaders and how far we are willing to let them go to reach certain ends. But remember, just like Pericles gets his strength from the Athenians, our leaders get their power from us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you the next time that Mr. Schweizer assigns us a history project. Today's episode of Crash Course Pastiche was produced and directed by Mark Young. Our script supervisor is Riley Garner. The show is written by my high school classmates Mark Young, Devin Vonderheide, Riley Garner, and myself. And our graphics team is Thought Devin. Thanks to all the new viewers. No one guessed last week's phrase of the week, and if you have thoughts on what you think this week's one was, you can leave those in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, leave those in the comments too, and we might answer them. Thanks for watching. As they say in John Green's hometown, don't forget to be awesome. It's so much. Oh, it's so hot. It's not bad. It's not really that bad.
Then you keep eating more of it.
It was just really bad.
Okay.
I was lying.